should be, there we are. Webinar's getting recorded for us, Sam.
Excellent. Thank you.
And we've got people starting to join us now. Fantastic. Can we just get a raise a hand from some of those people that are joining us so that we can make sure that the tech is all working for us, or someone write something in the Q&A to say if you can hear us? Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Megan. Appreciate that. Loud and clear. Oh, we've got Sam there too. Welcome, Sam. Excellent. We'll just wait till a few more people get on board, and then Sam is going to start the session.
Yeah, I'll get us started. Just give me a yell, Phoebe, when we've got most people in.
Yeah, look, I think because we're on a bit of a time frame, we should make a start with it, Sam, and then
let's do it.
People can just continue to join us. Let's do it.
Excellent.
We're all busy and important. Things to do, places to be, beers to be drunk.
People to see. Yes, exactly. Thanks, Phoebe. Welcome, everybody, to our Creative Recruiting in a Tough Labour Market webinar this afternoon. We appreciate your time out of your busy schedule. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. So first of all, we are being recorded, as you would have probably guessed as you came into the room. So this is so that we can send it out to people who couldn't make it today. The other thing is you will notice in your Zoom menu that there's a Q&A little icon there. That's where we'll ask you to drop any questions that you might have while we're presenting. And then there will be time after each presenter to answer those questions. So drop them in the Q&A and we'll get to them in due course. And just to let you know that Phoebe will be leaving us probably a little bit early, but we'll go until any questions are answered at the end of the presentation. So let's get into it. I'm just going to start by introducing myself. So my name's Sam Ezzy. I'm from a business called Get Synergy. I'm the organizer of today's webinar, and Phoebe and Adam from Phoebe from HR Dynamics and Adam from Pink Bamboo have kindly given us their time to chat about some recruitment type issues that some of us are going through at the moment. And I wanted to bring them together to use their expertise to help us out. So Get Synergy, we're a virtual admin and customer service support business. We provide those services to busy business owners, help free up their time. So we can do the work, we can set up systems to streamline businesses, and we also provide solutions for any business challenge through our partner network, of which Phoebe and Adam both are part of that network that we call on when we need their expertise. So that's a little bit about us. Want to cover off what today we'll be going over. So Phoebe's going to be talking about what the new normal looks like when it comes to recruiting, and also how to get creative. We've got a fairly tough labour market, certainly on the Sunshine Coast and probably Australia-wide. So, looking at how we can get creative with recruitment when we've got that sort of a market in play. Then Adam Frampton from Pink Bamboo. He's going to follow with timing your recruitment activities and also how to deal with the fear of recruiting, especially if you're looking at recruiting your first employee. So that's what we'll be covering off amongst other things today. Now, a little bit just quickly about HR Dynamics, and Phoebe, feel free to jump in if you would like to. But we use HR Dynamics for our HR services. We recently had them provide us with our documentation for our employees, including letters of engagement, position descriptions, that sort of thing, and have found them excellent in the services they provide. What these guys don't know about HR, recruiting and compliance is not worth knowing. They're a wealth of knowledge and support when it comes to all things HR, and they do offer tailored solutions depending on the size of the business and the services that are required. So very important to have your HR, make sure it's all compliant and that you're covering off all of that side of things. So HR Dynamics certainly can help you in that regard. Then we have the wonderful Mr. Frampton from Pink Bamboo. Adam's specialty is helping businesses grow and empowering employees to get what it is they want out of their business. So obviously when we start our businesses, we've got pie in the sky type aspirations for where we want the business or we want the business to provide. Often as we go along, we find ourselves very short of time and freedom. And Adam's job is to help us get back to why we started the business in the first place and helping us get to that end result. So we've been using Adam as our business coach for quite a while now, and he has definitely helped me transform my business and create the type of business that I set out to create in the beginning but didn't quite get there on my own. So another very reputable specialist in the business coaching world. So welcome, Phoebe and Adam. We're very lucky to have you today. I'm going to hand over to you now, Phoebe. We'll start with HR Dynamics and your part of the webinar, and then we'll cross across to Adam at the end.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sam, and lovely to be down here in Budrum working with the team down here in HR. So if you can just jump to the next slide, I think, because you've already covered that, I think.
Covered that off. Excellent.
Yeah. Okay, so just before we get stuck into the creative recruitment or looking at the recruitment market at the moment, I just wanted to do a really quick recap as to what I believed Beck did covered last webinar that we did. And that is, before you even start recruiting, you need to start to get your ducks in a row. You need to understand what position is it that we want? What's the job description? What are we doing? What is this person going to be employed to do? This is an investment to the business. So what is the expected return of investment that you're going to be getting from this employee? This might be chargeable time. It might be freeing up some of your time, taking on some of the administrational, might be that they're going to be bringing in new business, depending upon what your business structure is as to what the requirement will be from the staff member. But I think that's really, really important. Be really clear in understanding what you need and whether you need them as casual, part-time or full-time. What are you going to be paying the staff member? And no, you should not just make up some golden number there. There needs to be a little bit of science behind it. Please make sure you understand what the award is, and don't say, oh, well, there's no award that will clearly cover us, because I would say that nowadays 95% of positions are covered by one of the modern awards. So you need to understand that. You need to understand the classification. You need to understand your penalties that are attached with it. So, and having that job description, so that not only are you clear what you want from this person, but also the person who does the person when they start, they've got a really clear understanding as to what the expectations are. So that's your starting point. Before you even got to the recruitment, start to work through that process. Okay, let's jump to the next slide. Sam?
Sure.
And right there.
There we go.
Now, I wish that I had a magic wand to be able to assist businesses with their recruitment at the moment, because it is the most common thing that we get asked as to, oh my gosh, we need staff. Can you help me with staff? Recruitment's really challenging. We know that staffing is really challenging at the moment, and there's a whole myriad of reasons, and I believe that those are going to get discussed a little bit later in the webinar. It's And we need to really rethink it. So whereas before we used to put an ad out and say, you must have this qualification and you will need to do this and you'll need to work these hours. And it was really quite, we're telling you what we want you to do. I feel that there's been a massive change for you having to now sell your business because it's a super competitive market, particularly if you're of a tradie background, which I know a lot of your clients are Sam. So, you know, they can really pick and choose which employer they want to go to, whether they want to stay with the current employer or they want to go to someone different. So it is really important that you use your advertisements as an opportunity to sell your business as to what it is. So what some of the benefits are to be working with the business, you know, what your business is all about. It's almost a bit like an ad for your business to attract the staff member to it. Flexibility is the new normal. And we started seeing this in all reality before COVID. You know, there's been a lot of, over the years, there has been a slow transition towards, you know, flexible working hours, you know, shared parenting. So different parents, you know, expecting, not only the female expecting to have to pick up the children from school, drop them off, but that being an expectation that both parties are going to be doing that, that there's going to be an opportunity to take school holidays off. It might be that they want to be able to work from home. And this is just something that you really have to consider carefully as to what will and what won't work for your business. Interesting, one of our clients who is in quite a traditional it's in a car servicing area, and they have actually just recently made the decision to go to 4 days a week and do 10-hour days for the staff, because it's so hard for them to get staff, keep staff. So their staff are getting tired, so they've decided to do four 10-hour days and give all their staff a 3-day weekend as a trial. There'll be office staff and phones and things that will still have to continue on a 5-day a week basis, but the actual guys that are working in the workshop are going to be going to a 4-day a week, which is a really interesting model for that type of industry, for a young, energetic business that is on a bit of a growth trajectory, to have taken that decision to trial it. Don't agree on things that you can't deliver in, though. I remember working for doing some HR work for a medical practitioner, and he wanted to provide flexibility, particularly for those with family. He was very empathetic towards it. The issue was that he had every single of his their front office reception staff expecting to be able to have school holidays off. And he came to me and said, look, I just don't know how to do this. I'm going to have to start closing during school holidays because I haven't got the reception staff. That is ridiculous. Like, you cannot do that. You know, you need to work out some sort of system as to, if you're going to offer that flexibility, you know, how you're going to be able to revolve it around, or some people that are going to be happy to work school holidays or something like that. So don't promise the world and then not be able to deliver it, because it's going to cause either you as the employer a huge amount of grief, or it's going to cause frustration to the employee as well. The reality is that working from home doesn't work for everybody, every business, and it doesn't work for every person either. You know, some employees love working from home, some don't, and some businesses, just the dynamic and what they do. Yeah, we made it work over COVID, but it's not in an ideal scenario. So, you know, you don't have to. Is it going to be an advantage? Is it going to be something that will work? Those are the things that we need to have a bit of a think about. Does COVID pose a challenge to recruitment? Look, I think we're seeing less of this now, even just in, you know, recent times with some of the pullback on the restrictions. But you do obviously need to be very clear from your business as to what your policy is on COVID vaccinations, and any impact that's going to have. And that can go both ways, actually. So there's maybe some people that choose not to vaccinate, and you've got a vaccination policy, so that's not going to work. But you also may have, we've seen some businesses where they have, they've got vulnerable household members, so they may make the choice not to want to work in a business environment where there is not mandatory vaccine policy in place. So just have some awareness around that as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the do's and don'ts. I hope that I'm preaching to the converted here. You can't ask discriminatory questions. People often say to me, I'm not wanting to discriminate, but I just need to understand, if they've got children, if they need the school holidays off, or they need to finish at a certain time. So it's not really whether they've got children or not, but it's about their availability. So you just have to be a bit clever as to how you ask these questions, because some people, they don't have children, but they may have a sports team that they've got a commitment that they've got to go to every Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or whatever it is. So you can ask things like, what is your availability? Do you have any holiday plans? Do you have any outside of work activities that would impact your ability to be able to work until 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, or have flexibility in the hours? Those are all very legitimate and reasonable questions. Also about people's health, you can't ask, if you can, get an insight into their file with their GP, but you can certainly ask if they've got any medical conditions that may impact the business. And this would be, you could bring up the fact that there is a lot of manual handling that's going to be required in the business. Is this something that you're able to do? If you any physical restraints that would prevent you from being able to do that. So it's about having an honest question as to what is the requirement of the job, and is there anything that would prevent them being able to do that. In an ideal scenario, you do all the interviews at the same time, well, back to back. The reason for that is if I have to do an interview in the afternoon when I'm tired and a bit cranky and I haven't got much time, I may not be giving the same attention and care focus to the interview as I do if I'm doing interviews first thing in the morning. So try and do them as back-to-back as possible, so that they're in a similar time spot. In an ideal scenario, you're not interviewing more than about 3 people. And look, actually, the reality is you're lucky if you get 3 people to interview at the moment, to be honest. But you might get a whole range of applicants. You might then give people a call, have a bit of a chat. That's what we call shortlisting, just checking that they're still keen on the job, that they understand that it's full-time, part-time, casual, finding out what the expectations are from an hourly rate perspective. Just get a bit of a feel for it, and then you can decide whether or not you want to pull them into a formal interview. And as I said, I'd be looking at around 3 people is ideal if you can get that many. Ideally. Don't oversell the role, because if you say, it's just fantastic here, there's never any stress, we always finish early on a Friday, I always promote, I tend to give bonuses every month, and then you don't deliver on that, your employee may not be that happy with you. So be super honest, say some of the challenges that are going to happen. Sometimes it can be long days. One of the more challenging aspects we have is dealing with customer complaints. We do have some problems with the supply chain at the moment. That means that, we're not always able to deliver on time, and this role will need to call the customer and let them know. So you're preparing them that, there are some aspects of this role that is going to be potentially challenging to them. And the final thing is making sure you get back to the candidates. So it's, again, this is an advertisement to your company, and your professionalism will really show through. So really important that even if you don't shortlist, you don't interview, but you actually, thank the person for applying and let them know that they were unsuccessful. Sometimes you get candidates who will say, well, why am I unsuccessful, wanting to challenge you? This can be a little bit of a sticky area because you don't want to say, oh, well, it's because, I thought you were at childbearing age. Yeah, could cause some more problems for you saying that. You're much better to just be fairly general. We had some really good applicants, or you didn't have the qualifications. So just give something that is that they're not going to pull you up on or hold you to account of, I guess, is really important. Next slide, Sam. Okay, so let's start to talk about advertising, because I think this is really important about how we get candidates. So there's a couple of ways. The very best way that we are finding at the moment is word of mouth. So just getting the word out there, using your network. Once again, cannot emphasize enough as to how important it is that you have that strong business network. That may be, industry events that you go to. It may be through your local chamber, attending webinars, workshops, anything like that. You need to make sure that you're connected to your business community, not only so that you can get business and referrals, but also so that when you do have positions open, you can let people know. You never know, who you're talking to, who's got a son or a brother-in-law or a mother or someone who may be looking for a job. Also, don't be afraid of letting people know. Does anyone know, if anyone knows of an electrician looking for work at the moment, or a builder, or, an apprentice, or whatever it is, make sure you get it out there and talk to as many people as possible, letting them know that you're looking for a job. Good old Seek. It's still one of the biggest platforms. I know that it's expensive and I know that it can be a bit frustrating, but it is still a good platform for the majority of businesses to get your job out there. So when you go into Seek, you will need to put down a location, a geographical area. You'll also need to put down some sort of salary. The good thing about Seek is you can put quite a bit of information about the business and the position. The other good thing about Seek is that if you've got it, you can respond to all your applicants. You can manage the whole recruitment and getting back to people on Seek, which is a really handy tool that you've got with it. So yeah, look, Seek is worthwhile. But there's also your social media is really important as well. I've got an example up there. So this is where you might have, your LinkedIn. If you're part of LinkedIn, it might be your on your Facebook, it might be on your Instagram, might be on your TikTok. If any of you are doing any TikTok dances and want to be a bit creative, you go for it. Whatever you can to cut through the noise to your target audience, to let them know that you've got a position that's available, the better. And you do have the opportunity to do posts with this. And the more traction, the more likes or comments that you get with your ads, the more, the higher it will come up in rankings. So, it needs to be a company rule that everybody is going to, and the company is going to like the ad and comment on it if possible. The more you can get people to support your ads going up on your social media feeds, the better traction you'll get. The other thing that, and we can do social media campaigns. So if you're good with social media, you might be able to target this yourself. We have a person that we use that does some of our social media campaigns. So she actually works out what time she's going to send it, who her target audience is, what the location and what the interest. So we're really trying to get into the right demographic and the industry and be quite specific. Do not ask me how you do that. I just know that there is just some woo-woo language out there that makes it happen. And you just need to talk to one of those woo-woo people to be able to make it happen. So if you've got someone who looks after your social media, they should be able to help. Otherwise, we do have someone who can assist in that area if you need some help with it. The other area that you can, that we know some businesses are trying at the moment is your Google Adwords. So this is when, when you put in actually, I think if you go to that, can you just jump to the next slide there, Sam? An example. So if you do a ad for HR Dynamics, this is what will come up. You can put in as a Google search your recruitment for your ads. So if you're looking for, electrician wanted or something like that, and you can put an actual put the ad up there so that then people can when they're searching, it will come up in their link. Again, I would probably be looking for some people to assist you in that area so that you just make sure that you're putting the right things in to link it, and that you've got a dollar spend, that you've got it kind of capped as to how much you want to spend. But it is an interesting, some of the larger companies we're starting to see using this with your Google search as your platform. Seems to be working. I think those are all the things that I've got to say. So yeah, good recruitment. It's all about the process. Look, there's always someone out there, even for some of those really tough positions. We always do find someone. You just have to, and you only usually need one person. You just need to be tenacious. You need to keep at it. You need to keep talking about it. Sometimes you need to just refresh your CCADs and try and get that. It's just like fishing. You know, sometimes you go out and you fish and you get bites all the time, and other times you could be standing there all day, but eventually you will get a bite. Does anyone have any questions?
I haven't got anything in the Q&A yet.
No, not at this stage. That's okay. If anyone's got any questions, and as I said, I'll be here till just before 2. So if you jump in, and I'll keep a bit of an eye on it, and yeah, I can answer those before we go. Otherwise, by all means, you know, don't ever hesitate to give us a call at HR Dynamics. You know, we've got the office in Cairns and the one in Budrum, and we love it when people pop in and see us or give us a call, or and we'll certainly do whatever we can to support you through the process of any HR, including recruitment processes. Awesome. On to you, Adam.
Thanks, Phoebe. All right, yes, now on to Adam Frampton from Pink Bamboo. So Adam, as I mentioned before, is a business coach who specialises in helping entrepreneurs get what they want out of their businesses. So I might hand over to you, Adam, and just if you want to give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, happy to do that. So welcome everyone, and that was a great presentation, Phoebe, so thank you. A couple of points I'm going to link back to in my preso here. So my background, I'm a qualified accountant. I have been for 33 years, which usually sends people to sleep within the first few seconds. But those who do get to know me know that I'm anything but your stereotypical accountant, which drew me inevitably to business coaching. And we'll hear a bit more about that later. But business coaching has a bit of a name with a few people. A few people have been stung. But for me, being able to, because I've been an entrepreneur myself a number of times in terms of new businesses, so you can almost call myself a serial entrepreneur. So I've been there, I've done it. I've been crawled under the desk in a fetal position crying because of the stress. I've had the potential heart attacks around the side of the bed because I've been working ridiculous hours. So I've been there, I've done it, and I've crawled my way back out. And my mission in life is to help entrepreneurs, business owners to get what they actually want from their business, because we set off the journey at the very beginning with one thing in mind, and it's often that magical word freedom, which Sam mentioned earlier. And it doesn't take long before the dreams that we had start to disappear. So that's me in a nutshell. And as Sam would testify, my jokes are awesome. Sam, if you can move.
I would not.
Yeah, I didn't think you would somehow. So I just wanted to throw a few rules up here, first of all, a few points. I will be quick because, to be honest, I could talk for 3 or 4 hours on this subject. I could probably talk for longer. So I'm going to be quick. I'm going to rattle through quite quickly. Please take notes. And if you've got questions, throw them in the Q&A session as we go, because we might move on quickly and you might forget the question and then it won't get answered. Clearly, I'm not going to cover everything that I would want to cover in this short period of time. So, you know, questions again or follow up with me afterwards. And key learnings is a big thing I try and drill into my clients, is to record the learnings and your aha moments, anything that you take away from any learning experience, including this webinar. Because if you write them down and record them and go back to them later, you'll actually embed them and are more likely to actually use them. And it's only something like 5% of people that actually retain a lot of this knowledge and keep applying it into their business because they don't go back and record their key learnings. And a big one, which will make a certain presenter on this call wince slightly, humans or employees are just resources. They're a functional part of your business. They perform a role and they are paid for this. And they're a human being that needs looking after and curating and making sure they fit, that they understand what the culture is, and that they're happy. So everything I say is a balance between an employee as just a resource, getting their function done in the right way with the right support, and them as a human being. So occasionally when I use the term, I use a term which feels really cold and corporate or commercial, there is always a balance to that. So if you can move to the next slide, please, Sam. Okay, so we have everything that an entrepreneur wants. We want freedom from our business. I think this just frames up really the rest of the presentation. And ultimately, freedom for most people means time and money. People don't often start a business with a view to working 12, 13-hour days. The problem with this is the things that stand in the way are time and money. Because if you don't have enough time to run or build your business because it's grown so quickly, or there's other competing things inside the business, that's a problem. So, and money clearly another blocker to this. So the irony here is what we desire and the things that build that up are the blockers, which leads to frustration, stress, and then above all, poor decision making. Now, the reason why I threw this up is because poor decision making when it comes to your recruitment process, employing, what resources you bring on, who they are, what they do, and the role they fulfill, will make a massive or have a massive impact on your business. So planning ahead, making sure that you know what's coming and when you're going to employ someone and when you're looking to bring on a resource, and also who it is that you're going to be bringing on board will make a massive difference. So, for example, bringing in somebody who is admin. So the most common question I'm asked from a sole trader, individual business owner, who do I employ next? Because the natural thing for most people is, I need admin support, which is absolutely correct. And what about bringing on somebody who can go and earn you some money so you can give them the work so they can go and earn money for you and you can focus on building your business? Or you could employ someone that can go and get you more work. So this question is something that entrepreneurs need to balance to make sure they're making the right decision at the right time to bring on the right person. Can you move on to the next slide, please, Sam? And that leads me to an approach to recruitment. I simplify everything because my brain works in a very simple way. So to my mind, there are 3 ways of recruiting. The first one being passive. So you just wait, you sit there, you think that somebody will come knock on your door and say, I want to come work for you. And that does work in certain markets. And if your business is known in a particular industry, or if you're known in an industry. And it's also a default for a lot of entrepreneurs who don't necessarily like the idea of going out there and actively finding employees, because it's a very daunting subject. Hence, experienced people and skilled people like Phoebe and her team there. That's why people need support. So passive is an approach. Active was exactly some of the things that I've listed here that Phoebe listed. That's actively looking for someone to come and work for you. So taking the reins, getting out there and actually driving the issue to find that person. So clearly, as part of that, you're going to need to know who it is you're going for, but active. Now, the third one, which again raises eyebrows, is, and it's more prevalent in a market that we're seeing at the moment that's built over the last couple of years, is to go out there and actually aggressively find people. So it's pointless. I'm not going to go into more detail about passive and active, but for aggressive, that looks a lot more like corporate speak would be headhunting. You'll know people in your industry that have a name for being good at what they do. You would have heard of people that stick out on the radar as being people you would want to come and work for you. So aggressive looks like you actually launching a bit of a campaign to get in front of those people specifically. So actually going to your networks and naming those people to get an introduction to them, to let them know, because they may not be looking to move, but your role is in an aggressive stance is to go out and actually find them and bring them on board. Now, this is a dynamic spectrum from passive through to aggressive. You don't switch from one to the other, so you'll sit somewhere between them. So for the average entrepreneur, I would want them to be active and a little bit aggressive so that they're on the front foot going out and actually dragging these people in and getting them on board. So it's a bit of a step out of a comfort zone for most people. And then again, that's where support from the right specialists will help you, because there may be some things you need in place to make sure that you're not overstepping any legal boundaries. So this kind of frames up the decision-making process, or not the decision-making process, your approach to how you bring in new people into the business, which clearly in this market, we're looking at more towards aggressive. In a market where there's so many employees, there's so much resource out there and fewer jobs, you're more towards the passive. So bear in mind, where are you in this, and how are you approaching this? Yeah, great. So finding and keeping employees, this is a process that I tend to use, which is you've got to identify to begin with who your ideal person is. And we kind of alluded to that before, in that we need to find the right person to do the right job. So if you have a role that you specifically need filling, that's very easy. But for entrepreneurs, it's generally a bit more grey in terms of, who do I actually need to fill what function? What do I actually truly need inside my business? We need to be really clear about what their role is going to be coming into the business. And when we're clear with that, it's very much easier for us to go out and find that person. Fit for me is whether they match into you and your team, or with you and your team. So do you get on with them? Do you feel like you could socialize with them? Not that's necessarily one of the things that's going to break this, but could you socialize with them? Do you feel comfortable with them? Do they have the experience, the qualifications? Do they match your values? If you know them, you know what you believe in. Following up on references, which again, I'm touching on an area which will be dealt with by HR, but social media is a big one to check through on people to see whether they do actually fit, because I could sit in front of somebody and sell them myself in an interview, but then if you were to look at my social media profile, it might be vastly different. So function and fit, know who you're going for and understand what you want for that person in your business. Then it's go get them. So timing is the biggest key here. And I kind of alluded to that before. At what time, at what point in your plan do you need to bring on what type of resource? It's one of the biggest things that will destroy a business's growth, is employing at the wrong time, the wrong resource, because you like the person. Mistiming this and it can go horribly wrong. So planning in advance at what point you need to bring a staff member on. The key point with that is the moment you feel stressed, the moment you feel like it's too much and you need somebody, it's a bit too late, because you've already gone past the point where you have the time to bring somebody on and invest in that process. Hence planning in advance. And then the financial aspects of this. One of the big things I do when I work with my clients is get their head into, have a real clear look at, are they approaching any financial question, but employing specifically, as a cost? Is it an expense that they have to forego in order to bring someone on? Or are they looking at investing in bringing somebody on to help them build a return on that investment? That very subtle mindset shift, that's a bit of a tongue twister. That mindset shift is key to actually investing in the right resource that you're going to bring in, because for a few extra bucks, you can actually employ somebody that will be more dynamic in a role, someone with more experience or more qualification. Now, there's a limit to which we go to with this. You can't just throw money at people and expect them to come on board. Anyone that's read Dan Pink's book Drive will understand that's well worth a read. But consider your employment as an investment, and that investment must give you a return on that investment, which does loop back to, under the Noam column, the function. When you're bringing somebody in, they're either going to go and earn you some money, or they're going to do something to save you time. So when you're looking at investing in somebody, you're constantly having to check in. Are they giving you that return? Are they saving you time? And are they saving you money, or bringing money in, sorry. So how your head approaches this question is critical to your approach to actually bringing people on board. Now, keeping them. I would constantly be reviewing the performance, as you would expect, of your employee, but constantly also checking in on how they're feeling, how are they going with it, and balancing the commercial, functional, these are your roles, how are you doing, what support do you need, to how are you feeling you fit with the team, how are we working together. So, and it's eliciting their, or getting their response to that, and also considering your own. And very quickly, when you're bringing somebody on, you're matching through to and reviewing that information that you collected as you were bringing them on board. And the key for me here is always be looking. Those 3 letters there, ABL, always be looking. In a hard market, which clearly this is almost an impossible market, you have to switch on to always be asking for the next employee, even if you don't feel like you need one now. If you're constantly looking, the quality people will appear to you. And it's a lot easier to go find more work to bring into the business to pay for that person than it is at the moment to find the person. So if you find somebody, that's like a nugget of gold. So capitalize on that. So always be looking for that next person. Now, if someone doesn't cut the mustard, whilst it's a very cold statement to make, you've got to ditch them. Now, there's obviously legal loopholes we have, or legal obligations we have to satisfy here. But the point for me for an entrepreneur is you have to be really clear you've made the right decision, that they're not the right person in your business, and you have to make it quickly. That you need to be really decisive and understand that decision 100%, and then make a very quick call to move them on. Because I'd say 99% of the time, most people that have been moved on would admit that it probably wasn't the right job for them. And internally in your own business and for your own sanity, actually moving somebody on and getting them onto their next role and opening the doorway to another opportunity for them means that your business is then free. You're not wasting money, you're not wasting time, and you're not building those stress levels. So be clear and decisive. And of course, make sure that you're complying. So yes.
Can I jump in there? Sorry to disturb, just to reinforce that as a small business, and a lot of people don't realise that you've got a 12-month qualifying period. So some people are like, oh, what do I do as a staff member? It's not 3 months, it's not 6 months, it's actually 12 months for the vast majority of awards that you've got. That it's pretty easy to terminate a staff member if they're not the right fit for the business without, and it's challenging for them to be able to take unfair dismissal action. There's some exceptions, but it's pretty good. And further to that, if people are like, oh, I'm not going to put anyone on because once the contract goes, what will I do? Well, if you're a small business as well, and again, that's less than 15 staff, the redundancy, there's no redundancy payment apart from a notice period. So if in 18 months' time you don't have the work, then you can make them redundant, and it's not a costly or a difficult exercise. And I think people sometimes hold back on putting staff on because they have such fear of a redundancy, or they're not the right fit and not continue, whereas in fact it's not, shouldn't be such a big deal. Sorry to butt in, but I just thought that was an important point.
Absolutely is contributed a great deal to that part, and thank you for doing that.
And Adam too, I'll jump in too with regard to I found this myself when everyone on the call. Adam was instrumental in helping me time, prepare and plan for, I now have 2 amazing employees who are working for me now, or with me, I should say. And Adam was instrumental in the approach to recruit and onboard those guys. But one of the things that I've found really difficult, especially when I was onboarding Lindsay, our first team member, was overcoming the fear of, do we have enough cash flow? How do we approach, how do we even onboard an employee? And, what do we do if she's not a good fit? And how do I make sure she is a good fit? And all of those questions, they're all those what if questions. Do you have any advice for those businesses who they're hesitant to employ because there's a fear around the recruiting?
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's from a financial perspective, it is that first, and I've been there a couple of times, it's that first big swallow of I've got to pay and give away all of my profit that I've just made, or I'm making, to pay a staff member that's equivalent in experience to be able to give them all my work. So it's that in itself is a huge fear, because I now have no income because I've given it to pay for this person here. The mental aspects of making that decision are so complicated because they'll differ from every person. And now, if I was to be on this call and say, yes, I have a special 6-step process that will help everybody get through this and navigate this, you'd have to lock me up because I'm obviously smoking my own socks, because there isn't one. There just isn't, because everybody's different. So what stood in your way and some of your blockers, Sam, will be entirely different to somebody else's. It does boil down to being an entrepreneur. Okay, I'll often use this as a metaphor for being an entrepreneur or launching a business. Is if you imagine you're in a plane and you're 30,000 feet up and you jump out, and in your hands you're holding a box with a parachute in. It's brand new. So what you got to do is, as you're plummeting to the ground, or as the ground's coming up to meet you, you're trying to unwrap this box and put it on your back, work out how to use it, and then pull the cord before you hit the ground, which is both exhilarating and really scary. The thing is, the parachute, what you're unwrapping is all the things that you don't know, which you only find out when you actually see them. So this process of employing, and the fear that conjures up for most people, is based on what experience they do have to that point. And most entrepreneurs will say their journey has been full of failures, mistakes, falling into traps, and then clawing their way out and learning from those. So if there's a lot of those behind you, the choice or the decision to employ is made that much harder. But I think if you can pull yourself out of the doing of the business, which is what I do with my clients, pull them out of the day-to-day and understand where you're going and why you need to employ and have a plan, that makes the whole process easier. Because if you let go of the fact that, yes, I know I need a salesperson at this point, or I know I need another technical support, or an apprentice, well, if those decisions are made beforehand, then when you get there, there's no fear in it, because you've already pre-planned. And you're just dealing with, okay, so how do we do this? So I think, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And I think the other thing that's worth noting is that, when you're a small business owner, especially if you're, solo, as I was before bringing on Lindsay and Megan, but I think it's really critical to get the support around you to help you, when you are recruiting, and both Phoebe, the HR Dynamics team, and Adam, were instrumental in helping us put things into place that we needed. And, a case of you don't know what you don't know, covering off those sorts of areas before we recruited, so that we put ourselves in a much better position to time it properly, employ the right people for the job, and have the documentation and the processes in place to be able to make sure that we're covered from a compliance perspective, and that our employees were protected as well as us. So I know from my own experience that it makes a huge difference having the support of experts around you when you don't have that expertise yourself. And I do feel like that did take a lot of the fear away from me. It didn't completely take it away, but it did certainly diminish it from what it was.
Yeah, and the key point there for me, or one of the key points there, is having that team around you. So having a team of people that you know and trust and are experts in their field. You have myself, obviously Phoebe and her team, yourself, Sam, the accountants, the right lawyer, the IT specialist, social media was mentioned earlier. As having those right people around you, you can call on straight away, gives a huge amount of confidence. And again, if we go back to cost and invest, most entrepreneurs sit with, yeah, but it's going to cost me this much money a month to pay for this support. So if you just forgive me for a minute, maybe I'm going to pick on HR. Someone might say, but so I'm going to pay this much money a month just in case somebody takes me to Fair Work, or just in case, yeah, no, I'm good. Because that's cost mentality. An investment mentality is, okay, so I'm investing this much money in the right support that I need at the right time, because if I do go through Fair Work, that could cost me 20, 30, whatever $1,000, in which case the cost at the beginning wasn't a cost. So that's how I would view and how I recommend all my clients. They build their team of people around them so that they can call on them. So you've nailed that point really, really well. It takes away some of the fear knowing there's people there for you. Now, if you just flick back again, Sam, yeah, I just want to, can you do that? There you go. So through this whole process, and indeed, through this whole process, when we're talking about recruitment, The previous slide to that being passive, active, and aggressive in your state, and the way you focus on this has to go through this whole process. So if we're being between active and aggressive and really getting out there and finding those right people, that's got to start from knowing them. You've got to have that in your mind and work to that. When you go get them, and actually the process of recruiting them, it's the same. You've got to have the same mentality. So if you're in a passive frame of mind, then the when and the cost is going to have a different effect on how the decisions you make. Keeping them the same in this current market, you've got to be a blend of active and aggressive. We have to be on the front foot, always be looking exactly the same. And it, not most importantly, but pretty much up there, ditching them is the same thing. Being active, aggressive probably is the wrong word for this, but being beyond active and going, right, we need to make a decision, we need to make it now. Yeah, now if you can flick on. Thank you, Sam. Yep, just quick summary of where we're at and what I've covered. So your approach to recruiting, passive, active, aggressive. For the people you're looking for, do they fit culturally as a person and their function, making sure and continually going back to that. Time and money being the thing we all look for and the thing that blocks us, which of course affects our decision making when it comes to recruiting, and then making sure you're doing regular reviews and making very quick decisions. The biggest thing I do for my clients is help them make quality decisions, because in every aspect of a business, if you know you're making the right decision, it's 1,000 times easier. If you don't know the choices that you're deciding between, which is where most people sit, and I've been there many times myself, how can you make a decision that's a good quality one? So ultimately, this is about making good quality, quick decisions. And that's me.
Perfect. Now, do we have any questions for either Phoebe or Adam? None have come through so far. Has anybody got any questions they want to put in the Q&A?
I can tell a joke if in fact,
please, somebody put a question, please.
I won't tell a joke if someone asks a question. There you go. I won't put you through the pain of doing that. Okay, fair enough. No one's asking a question. People are often shocked to find out I'm not a qualified electrician.
Oh, God.
See?
With that, shall we go on to the offers?
Probably a good idea.
So,
I'm mute now.
A big thank you to both Adam and Phoebe. They're kindly offering everybody on the call today these exclusive offers. Adam, do you want to just quickly go through yours?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent last couple of years building an academy online so that people I have lots of contacts in the US and the UK, so anywhere can jump on. It doesn't replace one-to-one coaching, but what it does is gives the next best thing. So that's being built, and I'm launching a founders offer in September. So the first 100 people that sign up get locked into a very low subscription from there on in, and it is low. I have a business assessment tool that's been in development and is being launched soon as well. And what I'm happy to do is get someone to do that and then give them a debrief so that they can find out exactly where in their business things are maybe not working as well. And I'm really always happy if someone pays for the coffee to do the Discover the Power of Coaching session, which is just an hour worth of chat, finding out about them, their business, what's going on for them. And the biggest thing for me is the blockers around the word coaching. And I just love to dispel the myths of that are built around the word coaching. So, and that's complimentary, apart from the cost of a coffee. And mine's a mocha.
Awesome. And Phoebe, I might get you to run through your offer too before you go. But just a heads up, Adam, I think this is probably more of a question for you. I've got a question coming up for you, but we'll just run through Phoebe's offer before so she can head off.
Excellent. Thank you so much once again for today. And sorry that I have to rush off. So our special offer is that we have some packages which allow you to set up everything you need from your HR system. So that's looking at your contract of employment, your pay rates, job descriptions, a handbook that's got your policies, your bullying, your social media, some workplace health and safety, workplace surveillance, driving, drugs and alcohol, all of those types of things, application forms. So really you'll have all the paperwork you need. So it doesn't really matter whether you've got one or you've got 50 staff members, this package works really well. So if you are just a new entrepreneur and you're looking at putting in your first staff member, we'll give you a 50% discount on that. So it's normally valued at $5,000, and we'll go it for $2,500, and we're very happy for you to pay that up front. But if that is going to be challenging for your cash flow, if you want to do a payment plan over 4 months to make that more affordable for you, we're happy to do that, and then you'll be confident to continue to grow your business from there.
Awesome. Well, I'll
Lovely.
let you go, Phoebe, so that
Thank you.
can
My
get on to
apologies.
your next. No, totally fun. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And just before we get to the question, just from us too. So we've got a couple of offers there if anybody would like to take them up. So you can choose between a free 1 hour workflow review. So that's looking at your customer journey from lead right through to post service or product, or you can contact us for a free 1 hour session to help with setting up an onboarding Trello board for employees, which we've developed and makes onboarding employees so much quicker and simpler. So yeah, either one of those. You can search for us online, or our website address is getsynergy.com.au. You can find all our contact details there if you're interested. Now, we'll just answer this question for Kev, please. Adam, how much money do you need in reserves to start looking at hiring, i.e. as a buffer?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, and one that's commonly asked. So as a rule of thumb, I would go for 3 months worth of pay for somebody in reserves. Now, I'm going to qualify that because to some people they say, well, that's too much, can't save for whatever. But I would, as a rule of thumb, have 3 months. It does entirely depend on your risk profile, and I will explain that. If you're a risk-averse person, you're more likely to want 6 to 12 months saved up, which obviously is a lot greater. If you are more risky as a person, you might just go employ someone and hope for the best. But I would say most entrepreneurs will be comfortable knowing you've got 3 months, because those 3 months, let's say that person doesn't bring in any income for you, that's enough time to know if this person is ever going to, or if they're the right person for you. And if you're making a quick decision, you'll pretty much know in the first sort of month to 6 weeks whether they are or not. So that's a quick answer to this. There's obviously a very long answer, but nobody has the time to listen to that one. But that's a great question.
No problem. All right. Any final questions before we sign off? You can either put it in the chat or the Q&A in the menu, in the Zoom menu.
I'm not going to tell another joke.
Thanks, Adam. Spare us, please. All right, nothing has come through. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And thank you again, Adam, for your expertise and coming on board. If you want to find out any more about HR Dynamics or Pink Bamboo, just Google them, you'll be able to find them. So Adam, you're pinkbamboo.com.au, is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yep. And then I believe it's hrdynamics.com.au, but don't quote me on that. If you do Google them, you will find them. But yeah, thanks everybody for your time today.
Sorry, Sam, what I'd just also say, when I mentioned the academy that it's coming online in September, if anyone's interested in jumping onto that, just send me an email. So it's adam@pinkbamboo.com.au, and you'll be first in the list to get the information. There's no commitment, but I can share what's going on with it. And I did notice in the chat, I think Hayley said they need to get more aggressive.
Yes, she has said that.
Yes, she did.
In this market, I think so, unfortunately, yes.
You go out and get what you need.
Awesome. And hopefully today has given everybody a few pointers on what you can do. I mean, obviously in an hour we can't delve too deeply into things, but it'll certainly hopefully give you some starting points. And if you do need that support, like I said, I can highly recommend both HR Dynamics and also Adam from Pink Bamboo. They've both businesses have been instrumental in helping us with recruiting. So I can hand on heart highly recommend them. So yes, thank you everybody, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Sam.
Bye.